right, welcome to Magic in the Ordinary. Today, it is a joy and an honor to welcome one of my favorite illustrators of all times and a professor in the art department at California State University, Laurel Long. Laurel, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to chat some more. I know we've been talking about literature, but can you tell us a little bit about your background and your work as an artist?
How far do you want to go back? Now, I was thinking about the question, and I was thinking about I was raised in a wooded suburb of New York City,
Mm,
and I just remember as a kid exploring the forest. In those days, your parents would just say, "Okay, go out and come back for dinner." So
wow.
that's what we did, and it was really so many magical things,
Mm,
in the forest to explore. So I think that might have started me off liking natural or nature and natural imagery,
mm,
uh, which in my books there's a lot of it, flowers and grass and you know animals and all kinds of things.
mhm.
So I think, maybe is what started me with it. But
Mm.
my parents were artistic. They weren't professional artists, but they were artistic, and they took us to a lot of museums and things. And so I kind of knew, I don't remember when, I never really decided. I just think I always knew I wanted to pursue art.
Hmm. I love that.
Yeah, so in middle school, I started oil painting because the school had a great art department with a oil painting materials that I could use. So I spent all of middle school and high school oil painting, and I just never stopped. I I just love it.
That's beautiful.
I I've always loved it. I can use other mediums, but they're not my my place.
Mm.
Oil paint is really it. I also like pen and ink work. I've done a lot of pen and ink work, which I like to do too. I went to college, studied art at a state university in New York, and then I went to Syracuse University for a master's degree in illustration, and met Murray Tinkelman, who was fabulous illustrator, and some others that were really influential.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Beautiful. So I have a question really quickly. Is like, are the illustrations in the books, are they often done originally in oil painting, like with oils?
They're all oil paintings. And
Okay.
yeah,
That's
um,
cool.
they're not large because I make them a little bit larger than printing size, because in printing, if things are shrunk down too much, you lose resolution and you lose detail. And because my work is so detailed, I don't want to lose that in the printing process. Um, so there, I actually have one here. Do you want me to hold it up?
Oh yeah.
I
That'd be so fun.
pulled it out. It's framed too, so it's like well, it's kind of a monster, but maybe you won't see it. This was a painting
Oh my gosh.
for the 12 Days of Christmas, the two turtle doves.
Beautiful.
That would be a typical size for
Okay.
a two-page spread.
Okay. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, because I've wondered, I've looked at it and the illustrations are often very smooth. So I was wondering what kind of medium you used for that. But that's really cool. What does your artistic process typically look like then for illustrating a page?
Well, for a whole book, if I illustrate a picture book, at first I start with the manuscript and I read through it, and on the margin, I'll mark off where I see important scenes
Okay.
or scenes that particularly appeal to me, or scenes that advance character. And then I have to break all that down into 32 pages.
Okay.
And then I have to decide what is going to be a spread, what's going to be a full page, and what text is going to go with each picture.
Okay.
So I work it out as a storyboard first,
Oh,
much like people in film do, except I don't know anything about camera angles. I just kind of sketch out how I see it. And then, and then for me, I really need to do pretty complete drawings and a mock-up of the book itself to really get a handle on what it's really going to be like.
Okay.
And the publishers aren't crazy with that approach because my drawings are very finished and they'd rather see something really sketchy, so they're not afraid to tell you don't do that or do something different.
Ah,
Yeah, so but it's just the way I have to. I don't mind redoing something if I have to, but I need to see it pretty clearly in
okay.
drawings.
That makes sense from a visual standpoint, from your perspective as an artist. Has it changed at all? Like I know you, it looks like you've helped write some of the books. Does that process change when you're involved with the manuscript piece of things?
I wouldn't take credit for really writing anything. What I've done is I've taken some fairy tales
Mhm.
and I've kind of retold them a bit, where some fairy tales are they can be a little sketchy, a little confusing,
Mhm.
or like in some cases, like Hans Christian Andersen, he's very hard on his characters. Like you just don't want things done to the characters that he does to his characters. So,
True.
so like I'll just kind of, rewrite it, which I don't think is writing. It's, you know, it's
Hmm.
it's still a grim story
Hmm.
retold by me. So
I
I
see.
wouldn't take credit for being an author of picture book. It's very hard.
That's a good point though, that some of those older fairy tales, they're a little bit brutal, especially Hans Christian Andersen. I feel like every time I read his books, I get emotional. Like the Little Mermaid, from his telling, that the original telling is pretty brutal, but
Yeah, I
beautiful.
actually did illustrate that. It's penned, publication is pending, but I changed the ending of that so that she wins in the end. And
Good.
though she doesn't win the prince, but um it ends like that. So and she returns to her family under the
Oh,
ocean.
thank you. I'm really excited then to get that version because the one where she just turns into foam, it's tragic. It's beautiful. Like her self-sacrifice is beautiful, but it's so tragic. It's hard to read. Um, so okay, I'm excited for the different version. It's gonna be good.
So things like that. I'll kind of tweak things to make it, just better for the reader in some ways. And I wouldn't, say, I would do better than Hans Christian Andersen. No one does. But it just makes it a little different read.
Yeah, a fresh take even. What draws you to fairy tales in particular?
Um, I really like fairy tales because there's that element of fantasy
Yeah,
in fairy tales so that I can create any world I want,
yeah.
right? It's fairy tale, right? It doesn't have to be the real world. It doesn't have to be a recognizable world. So it can be anything imaginary and fantastic. And so it's like so wide open.
Mm.
I also like the ancient mythic aspect of fairy tales. Like most fairy tales hark back to Norse myths or ancient Greek myths or there's a thread.
Mhm.
And I really like those themes
Yeah.
because they're really about human beings. It's really about that.
Yes, it makes me think of The Lady and the Lion, for example. It has this kind of almost connection to the Cupid and Psyche telling. It feels like like you're saying, like there are these threads which you can find continually throughout these older stories that are they're just beautiful and they are such a cool look at the human like condition and heart and all those things. So I agree. I think there's something like t kind of timeless about it that we can still resonate with as well.
And I like that story too because the female character is the hero. She's the hero. She's the
Yeah.
heroine. She's the protagonist, and she prevails. And and then there's these other. I like these little natural elements where she's sent, a gold box by the sun, or an egg from the moon, or it, it that relationship with nature and magic, I think is fun.
That connectedness. I like that that kind of ties into what you were saying when you love playing in nature, that kind of seeps into the story and having that connectedness in there is really beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, I do really like that aspect of it. So I'm actually not great with stories that are more realistic.
Mhm.
Like fairy tales really my niche. Um, because um I feel sort of like limited in a way if I have to do something that's more real world or more
Mm.
in time, because fairy tales too, they're in what time?
Yeah.
You don't, they could be any time, except for the costume might make you think of certain times, but you can really, some of it can be just timeless,
Yeah. I like that.
which is really fun.
Yeah. Oh, I really, really like that. Um, your art and like the intricacy mesmerizes me. I think I showed the magic nesting doll earlier. I'll show this. If people are listening, just look up a bit like a quick link to the magic nesting doll or the Lady and the Lion. But both of these are incredibly like they're intricate, and they're beautiful. And so I would love to hear from you, like your thoughts as an artist. Why is this kind of beauty so impactful? Like I read these stories on repeat. I love just sitting in front of the art sometimes. And I just yeah, just curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I think in general, like beauty can take many forms. Like I have a certain approach, but there's beautiful art that has totally different style or look or, approach. And I think in general, though, beauty is impactful in art because it touches your heart and soul.
Mm. Mhm.
It's like when you're looking at art, it's like falling in love. You can't exactly explain why you love it, but you just feel it and you're transported by it. So I think regardless of what the art might look like,
Mhm.
it good art, I think has that impact, has that effect. And that's why it's great art.
Yeah, it stops you in your tracks. I like the analogy of it's like falling in love because there is that just moment of wonder, I guess, that comes out of it when you're able to see that in good
Yeah,
art.
you can't intellectualize it too much. You can't dissect it too much. And I remember I was at a museum with uh, my uncle. And he was very, very brilliant guy. And he was taking courses in art and Picasso because he was so baffled by the whole thing. He just didn't get it at all. And he thought if he studied it and researched it and someone could explain it to him that he'd get it. So we were at a Bonnard exhibit at the Met in New York. And I was standing in front of this beautiful wall-sized Bonnard with I mean, it's just like you want to be in that place.
Yeah.
He turns to me and he goes, "Why is this good?" And I didn't know how to answer because what is,
Mm.
I mean, I could say, well, the colors are great and look at the composition, look at this and look at that, but that doesn't explain it.
No.
So like if you don't see it or feel it, you just don't. And
Mm.
there's nothing wrong with that you don't. Some people are just more inclined to be affected by other things.
That's true.
It's really hard to explain.
Yeah, and different styles hit different people for sure in different ways. And as I go through life, I've found that certain artists speak to me more at certain times. Like I think recently, I used to like not get Van Gogh. I used to be like, why is everyone so excited about these things? And like just recently, I started getting, I think it was a couple years ago, I saw one of his paintings in a museum, and I saw the brushstrokes, and I don't know what it was about seeing the actual brushstrokes that like it just changed me. After that, I was like trying to mimic everything he was doing.
I know exactly what you're saying because when I look at a Van Gogh and you look at those brushstrokes, you see his hand, and
Yes.
you can even see the raw canvas in between, even between the brushstrokes. But it's almost like you're there with him because you can see what his hand did and what he was doing, and I think that's something special about that art. But I know what you mean because when I was younger, I loved Salvador Dali.
Really?
I love Salvador Dali. And then as I got older, I was like, I don't really like Salvador Dali anymore.
Just
He-
shifting.
yeah. And then I came back around to Dali not that long ago. So now I love him all over again. So I think, as people change and through life, they just see things differently. And same thing with literature, really.
Yeah.
Read a story or a book when you're younger, and then you read it later, you get very different things from
Yeah.
it. So you bring your experience to it.
Mm.
It's
Well,
amazing.
I really like that. I guess I've read a lot and taught a lot of literature, but I've never thought about approaching a painting in a similar way where I'd approach a book of just that kind of bringing your life experiences and your own lens and I don't know how that can shift your perspective on a painting. The same way a book shifts. Every time I read a Jane Austen book or something, my life experience that I brought up to that point is going to shift so much about how the way I read the story. I think I like the idea of being more intentional about how I approach art then, and being like, okay, I've had this new life experience. What am I going to see in this painting now? And not just being like, oh yeah, that's the painting I saw last week or last year or however long ago, but to actually kind of be, I guess, open and ready for a new experience based on the life experience I bring to the table too. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I think that does happen. And some of it too is what you learn. I know a lot of people have trouble with Picasso, but I would say anyone who has trouble with it should take a course or learn about his life
Mm.
and what his experiences were and why he was doing what he's doing and
Yeah.
what it meant to him and who were the people around him. And all of that provides just so much better understanding
Yeah.
of him and appreciation too.
That's I can see that. I can see how like context would add layers of richness. I will say I'm one of the people who's had a hard time with Picasso, so I should probably go and research more about him.
Everybody does. How many times have you heard, my kid could do that, right? Oh, your kid didn't do it, but okay.
That's true. That's so funny.
Yeah, but see, that's kind of what makes him special too, that he's so challenging. And,
Mm.
and
Yeah. He's more
there's
unique.
nothing like him before or after.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
it's kind of like Van Gogh. No one could be Van Gogh because it's going to be a Van Gogh. No one could do a Picasso, it's going to be a Picasso, right? It's so original and so unique that, it can't be surpassed. It can't be, you can't, it is just perfect the way it is.
And very uniquely themselves, which is beautiful. Like they've got that style developed. Um, I think you mentioned in an Instagram post maybe like you like drawing things by hand a lot. Do you do all your drawings by hand or do you do some digital as well?
Um, I should go back to what your question was before about doing a book, because after I do the drawings and the prototype, then I reproduce the drawings on the surface, either gessoed paper or panel, or
Oh
I
wow.
don't use canvas. Um, and then I start painting.
Wow.
So that's basically the process of the book. Um, but now to go to your other question, which was about drawing, is that right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, yes, I draw everything by hand and I paint everything by hand. I have done digital work, um, and I've actually not been unhappy with it. It's actually has come out pretty good considering my lack of experience. But I don't love it.
Okay.
Like I like materials. I like using my hands. I like pushing paint around. I like not, I like investing in my decision. And then if I don't like it, I like changing it. But the digital thing is such a rabbit hole of things you can change. And
Wow.
then you can do so many versions that you lose sight of what your first concept was, because you can do so many changes, so many edits, and then you're like, what was I doing?
My gosh. Oh, true. It's kind of unlimited directions you could take at every turn.
Yes, and I think there's something to be said for just making a commitment, to what your vision is and what you want to do. And of course, you can change things if you don't like it or make changes, but I think with digital, it just gives you it's too many possible, you're at a crossroads and there's a million roads, and then instead of just one or two, it's
Oh my
like,
gosh.
I don't want to go down a million roads. So, but I have liked the stuff that I've done. I find that I liked it because I had to do digital color on some pen and ink drawings I had done for
Oh.
another, and I couldn't paint the actual pen and ink drawings. So I had to do it digitally. And I do like the way they came out. They almost look like they're kind of watercolor on ink.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, and it was fun too. And but I enjoyed doing that. But I just wouldn't want to sit in front of a computer all day. I just can't. I could sit on my drafting table all day, but I don't know, something about it. I can't.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I really like I use acrylics a lot just because I'm not as familiar with oil, but I really like you said pushing paint around. There's something really just really satisfying about that too.
Yeah, there is something about pushing paint around that's like
It's
really.
just therapeutic. And then it's so cool. Like we were talking about Van Gogh, it is so fun when you see an artist like I don't know, the paint strokes, like they have a life of their own too. And there's something fun about being able to actually see a thing that has your strokes on it. Like I think that's really fun too.
Well, that makes a good point too, because I feel like artists and illustrators kind of lost something when they went digital because there's no original art.
Mm,
Prints.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like it, not that I have so much original art. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it all, but there's something to be said for having a piece of art that's handmade over just a print that comes out of a printer.
Mm,
You know?
right.
So art illustrators can't sell those originals. They can sell prints, but
Yeah.
you know,
Same.
so I think they kind of lost out that way.
Yeah. That is interesting. Like I can go to a museum and we can look at, we can look at paint strokes from previous people, but if someone starts digital, then they don't have the ability to like have that particular legacy of being able to have someone down the road see their paint strokes. Um, so yeah, that is an interesting, it's a loss. Yeah. I mean, there's so many benefits and a digital art has been so helpful. But yeah, it's interesting looking at the kind of the payoff then, the cost.
On the other hand, to be a really good digital artist, you have to be a very good artist. You have to know
Mm.
composition, you have to know design, value. You have to be a very good designer uh,
Mm.
and colorist to do it well.
Oh, I believe that.
So it's not like, the computer doesn't do things for digital artists. They do a lot.
Mm.
They
That's
bring
cool.
a lot of expertise and knowledge to what they're doing.
Oh, that's a good point too. Yeah, I've not got much into digital art. So it is interesting thinking about all those components as well. Um, so next question would be, how is art magic in the ordinary? Tying it into the show.
I was thinking about that question, and I linked it to my own experience with art. Um, I took a Northern Renaissance art course in college, and it changed my life.
Hmm.
And most of that art is religious art, like Annunciations and Madonna and Child, and it's a lot of it is very small because it was intended for personal devotion.
Oh.
So, like a Van Eyck, a Jan Van Eyck painting, it like in the Met, you might see when it's about this big,
Oh.
and the details are just so. they just blow me away.
Mm.
Tales of everything, like the petals on flowers, the
Mm.
brocades, the light off of gems or jewels or a crown or um, marble textures, tiles. I mean, everything is so intricately and beautifully painted and in minute detail. So what it does is it forces you to go right up to the
Mm.
art. And when you're that close to something, you almost become, you feel like a part of that world.
Oh, I like that.
It feels like you're stepping into another world. You're really up close to it and you can really explore it. So I was thinking about that. And then I was thinking, um, so you have this hyper realism of this Renaissance art, intricately done flowers and details, even the hair, every strand of hair you can see. And you have all that sort of hyper reality, but then all of a sudden an angel appears, or
Mm.
there's a halo, or there's like a beam, from the Holy Spirit dove coming down. And so all of a sudden it becomes like you have this mix of supernatural and the natural
Ooh.
world in it together. And so I was thinking, what is a better example of magic in the ordinary than that?
Yes, so true. Wow. The supernatural and the natural merging together just seamlessly.
Yes, and there's kind of a surreal, really a lot of the art to me looks very surreal, like the
Mm.
surrealists would have done, because you have these incongruous things together,
Mm.
What is an angel with wings doing in a woman's Flemish bedroom, right? Yeah, with all the fabrics, and you can look out the window and you see the Netherlands landscape goes for miles, and sometimes there's a cat there or something, and everything's like very detailed. And then what is this angel?
Mm.
So it's like such a, I don't know, it's just so wonderful,
Mm.
you know. And
That.
I and in some ways maybe that's how art is like the angel coming into our world sometimes.
Mm. Mm. Such a beautiful comparison. I think it makes sense to me that like that fresh new beauty that yeah, it's magical. Very magical.
Yeah. And not to get too religious about it or anything, but I feel that really great art is inspired by God or by something supernatural in the sense of something otherworldly.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, I think in the olden days when people talk about muses, there is this sense of just finding inspiration and like there was, the Greeks constantly talking about the muse, it needs to inspire me. And I feel like in my own art, I have definitely experienced what you're saying of like, sometimes I really feel like I can't take credit for this. Like, this does feel like a gift from God. This, like, whether I'm able to paint something really clearly, or write something down. And there is this sense, it feels kind of infused. And I mean, I'm like running short on words for how to explain this, but it really does feel kind of magical in terms of something that isn't just a natural talent, like, it's not naturally easy, but sometimes there will be like a story or a picture it just kind of blossoms in a really cool way. And I guess that's really rich.
There's a book, there's probably several books written about this, but it's called The Flow. And it's like when you're involved in something, whatever, whether it's painting or writing or whatever, you get to a point where you're not thinking about it.
Mm.
You're letting it flow. You're not
Mhm.
making decision after decision after decision.
Yeah.
You're it's hard to describe. And
Yeah.
I sometimes, I experience it when I'm painting, where, I can get lost in a painting and not be thinking about what my next stroke is, what my next color is, what my next,
Wow.
and it's just, there's like a flow to it.
Mm,
And I think that aspect of art is maybe what people see as being special,
mm,
being um, something other than this world.
mm. Connection with something beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. Also, it's really cool to hear about your flow state in art, because I've experienced probably more with books, but it makes sense that as you know, you're as an artist, you're able to enter into that with paint. Which for me, I think sometimes I'm still like, which color am I supposed to use to color, mix the colors right and things. It's still in the very cognitive phase, I think. But it's beautiful hearing about how that flow state can happen even with the paints and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, often people ask me, because my work is so detailed, like, how long did that take you? And I really don't know. I mean, I don't, if I thought about it, I probably wouldn't want to do it anymore. I don't know. I really don't care. It
Yeah.
is, it is what it has to be.
Hmm.
So I'm not the greatest at meeting deadlines. Um, and I have to put a lot of time. But I think if I start thinking about how much time I'm going to spend on something, I'm not going to want to do it.
Hmm.
I want to think about time. You kind of want time to stop
Yeah.
when you're doing something you want to do.
Yeah. That is so true. Do you have any tips for young artists or new artists,
Mm.
particularly those interested in illustration?
Well, I think illustration's the same as any art, really. Um, it's just a different form of art. But I guess what I would advise is that um, a young person to follow your heart.
Hmm.
Follow what excites you, what interests you. Not what you think you should do, or
Hmm.
not what you think other people want you to do, but what you want to do. And then perfect your craft, whatever it is, whether it's digital or painting or drawing. You have to perfect what you're doing. They used to say, I think of the Beatles, that they were so good because they put in 10,000 hours of practice. And so now that there's the 10,000 hour rule, have you ever heard of it?
I think so.
Right. You need you need to have put in 10,000 hours before you can get good at something. But there's some truth to it. There is some truth to it. I would also tell a young person study art history because um, we're not isolated humans on islands. We have a history of art and inspiration that has come before us. Um, it's just kind of like my students sometimes they complain about art history, and I said, no. I said, if you were a musician, would you not listen to the classical musicians? Would you not listen to Beethoven or Bach? Because how could you not if you're a musician? And
Right.
it's the same thing with art. You, you,
Hmm.
you can't live in a vacuum. And you need to even look at stuff that you may not like.
Hmm.
You might find something, like something new. And the other thing I would say is go to museums and do it. Because when I was in college in that Northern Renaissance art class, the professor was excellent. And I had a book of Northern Renaissance art. And some of the pictures were about this big, and some of the pictures were like this big. And I just loved them all. But when I saw them in person, I'd go to the Met, or, I've been to all over Europe to look at Northern Renaissance art, Bruges, Belgium, the Louvre. I mean, everywhere, just so I can look at these things in person because um, they're really special. They're gems
Yeah.
in person. There's really something special with that. Then the other thing I would tell even digital artists, because you can draw digitally, is draw.
Hmm.
Learn to draw. Because no matter what you do, if you don't know how to draw, nothing's going to look right. Even if you do an abstract, I swear. If you don't draw, you it's just not going to look good. It's going to show the awkwardness and the lack of ability is going to show. So
Mm.
I would say draw, keep drawing, go to figure drawing classes, um, or just doodle, really. There's this doodle artist that I love. It's the his thing is Peter Draws. And he's the ultimate doodle artist. Like he'll just start with something and he's totally in the flow until he fills up cold page.
Oh,
And it was really funny because he said he tried to go to figure drawing class once and he lasted for about 5 minutes. It was so anxiety causing for him.
all other styles.
But any kind of just keep drawing. Yeah.
Mm.
It's easy. You can always do it. You
Mm.
don't need a lot of equipment.
Oh, that's
So
true.
that's my advice.
Do you do a lot of drawing from like I guess I don't know what to call it, but like models or things, or do you like if you have a dove in your story, do you try to draw from like a dove that you've seen outside or like how yeah, I guess what are the references for those kinds of things?
Yeah, that's a good question because when you're putting together a drawing for say a book, right? And let's say there's an alligator in it. Now I could probably do an alligator out of my mind, but I would research what alligators look like
Okay.
and bring some of that into what I was doing if I thought it worked. So I think the research is pretty important,
Mm,
to when you're trying to put something together. But a lot of times I don't want to do that at all, and I just doodle.
okay.
I just whatever's in my mind, not care about if it looks like something. But when you're doing a book and you have to have real things in it, you probably should take a look at what those things look like. If there's a horse, I can draw a horse, but you want to really be able to draw the horse that looks good.
Mm. I like that. Okay, so where did the Firebird and the ma Magic Nesting Doll, there's the last one that she opens up. Where does that come from? Or what was the inspiration for that? Because it feels like the dawn and it's beautiful, but yeah, I'm really curious about how did you create that?
Well, a lot of it is, and it's a good question because all my books have been influenced by the native art of the place where the story takes place.
Oh,
Like the Lady and the Lion is the Red Sea. So I was looking at Islamic art and Mughal Indian art for things, like ideas and how they would do it. And it was really fun. And then the Magic Nesting Doll, I collect Russian lacquer boxes. Those are the little boxes and they have little intricate paintings on the top.
that's so cool.
Yeah, and I love that art. So I bought some of that into the um the book, especially in the borders. You
Mm.
know, And so, and then I had Hans Brinker, which takes place in the Netherlands. And so I kind of try to bring a little Vermeer into,
That's so
into it, or a little Flemish, flower painting type, I tried to bring that into it. So it's really funny because someone says multicultural artist, and I never dream of being a multicultural artist. It just happened because I love the folk art and I love the art of different cultures. Um, so I really didn't know what to say when they said that because I never thought of it as being multicultural. I just thought it was interesting.
Well, what a way to honor the original story as well, to pull in those aspects visually that have been kind of ingrained in the story historically. So that's amazing.
Yeah, so that's where a lot of that comes from, though.
Okay.
Like you were asking about the Firebird. The
Okay.
Firebird is um it's a very common image in Russian fairy tales
Okay.
and in on the Russian lacquer boxes as well. And they're all different types of Firebirds, different styles of them and, different renditions of them. And so I just kind of riffed off of, of that.
Okay.
And I like all those
Firebird.
flowy lines. I'm like really into anything that flows, I'm happy with. If I have to paint a straight line, or architecture is always really a chore for me.
Okay.
Uh, but if it's organic and flows, I'm like, all right.
That's why you do hair so well. That's why the hair's always, I'm like, oh, the princesses in these books or the girls always just have fantastic hair, which is fun because of those flowy lines.
Yeah, yeah, kind of like what I'd like to have, but don't. So,
This is fairy tale here.
fulfilling my dream.
Uh, it was interesting because the Magic Nesting Doll, I don't know a lot about Russian art, but I've done a lot of studying like Byzantine iconography. So I've gone to Russian museums to study that. And when I read Magic Nesting Doll, I feel like I can almost taste the flavor of a little bit of the iconography that I have studied. And I love that. But it's cool to realize that that was a very intentional pulling from that cultural source as well. So yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, there might be a little Byzantine in there with the villain,
Oh yeah.
him in the hat. And everything.
Yes. The
There's a
Grand
little bit of
Vizier.
that.
That's fantastic.
You know,
Awesome.
and- oh, and is it oh yeah, the Lady and the Lion, I remember. The publisher was very against having the witch fall out of the tower to her demise. And I was like, well, you can't have the witch still out there at the end of the book. That's more disturbing for children than just to be done with her, right?
Yes.
So I had to kind of fight for that. But a lot of times they think children can't handle a lot, but
Hmm.
children are like very curious and very intrigued by real life and things. I don't think it hurts them. I think they embrace it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, sometimes I feel like my students can handle even more than I can. Like they're just like there's everything's so new and they're so curious about the world. They're like, "Oh yeah, this happened in the story." And I was like, "Guys, like this is intense to talk about." You like we're reading literature or discussing different Shakespeare books, but like I think you're right though. Children are they're curious. Um, Especially in the context of fairy tales, like they know life gets crazy sometimes, but fairy tales are like a really safe way of exploring some deeper themes, I think. And so like, yeah, the villains dying at the end. I feel like for kids that's like, okay, there's a bad guy, but this is how they conquered. And I think that can be so healthy for kids to be able to explore those deeper themes, but in a really safe context of a magical world. Um,
Yeah, well, I guess in those days, like the Grimms and the Hans Christian Andersens, they were trying to teach a moral, to the
mm,
story, which is like Hansel and Gretel, they go off and they they end up in a lot of trouble, or Little Red Riding Hood, who doesn't have a clue about the wolf. So there's these little cautionary tales, that are kind of built into the fairy tales, which I think are really funny.
yeah, that's true. Going to the woods is the moral. I don't know. Um, but no, that's fun though. All right, so if people want to find your books, where can they go to get a copy of these books?
Well, some of them are older now, so they're out of print. So you might have to go to other sources besides Amazon, or like a mainstream marketplace. Um, there are still used copies out there that people sell. The 12 Days of Christmas is still on Amazon.
Okay.
And I know that some, like the Huntington Library and Museum here, sells it in their gift shop every
Okay.
year. So that's still out there. Um, so I know that's that's all I can say about it.
Okay. And then what's your Instagram handle? Do you have an Instagram? Do you know?
Yes, but I don't remember what it is.
All
And
right. Check the link. Check the description
I
below.
actually do have an Instagram. It's almost like a little website though, because I really don't put stuff on it. I don't. But if people want to see my work, they can go to laurellong.com.
Okay. Perfect. So
The best way to look at some art that I
beautiful. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show, chatting about art. Yeah, I really encourage any listeners as well to go get the books. It's a treat. It's like walking through a beautiful museum gallery, but from, your armchair while you're reading a beautiful story, with timeless themes. But yeah, I just want to say, are there any final thoughts, Laurel, that you wanted to share before we wrap up? Anything?
I think one thing that impressed me about there's a sister in LA who did all this printmaking work and stuff. And so they asked her, about what was she trying to do with it? How does she want people to do it? And she says, just do the best that you can.
Hmm.
And it's so simple, but it's so right. If you always do the best you can, you'll always be happy
Hmm.
if when you think about it.
I really like.
So, I do the best I can. And if people like it, I'm happy. And if others don't, it's okay.
Hmm. Beautiful. I'm gonna take that to heart. Just do the best you can. Um, with drawing, with painting, with writing, all those things. I'm gonna think of it for that. So, well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a delight talking with you.
Thanks so much.